Alright guys, mark my words, this is going to be a banger. Now, I could have relayed this information to you, but I thought what better way to do it than to just actually show you the raw footage. But I had a really good sort of 3-hour chat with a really big brain prop paladin. And if you think you're a big brain prop paladin watching now in Classic or TBC, I guarantee you will take something away from this video. So we spent 3 hours talking about boosting, gold making, even how there should be a launch. And I'm going to cut this up into 3 videos because, as I say, it's quite long and I want it to be digestible for you and you can take all the information in and obviously make good use of it. Now, there is so many cool tips in here, but before we get cracking, obviously make sure you like, subscribe, check out the giveaway. We're closing in on 5k now, so when we hit 5k, going to be doing that giveaway live on Twitch, and I'll probably do it on YouTube live as well for those who don't watch me on Twitch. But link to my Twitch is also in the description. And this interview with Dr. Kael from Get Carried, as I say, I'll put a link to his YouTube in the description as well. Make sure you go subscribe to him. There's loads of high-end raid footage on his channel. There's some funny ones. There's one that I'm really keen on. I would check Project Hole out. That's a real-life video that he done, but it's really good. And he's going to be putting out loads of like boosting guides and AoE farming as a prop paladin and just general prop paladin stuff in TBC. So as I say, make sure you go check him out. I'll just let Dr. Kael introduce himself so you know who he is, and then we'll jump back here and I'll just give you a brief outline of what we're going to learn in this video.
My name is Dr. Kael. Go by a few names, but on TBC, that is the name of the character I play, which is a protection paladin. I run my own guild I play a lot of TBC, so play some private servers. I played TBC when it was live. I double rated, and I play a lot of World of Warcraft. I try to be the big brain prop paladin. Try to be. I still learn things.
You're succeeding in my eyes. I'm looking forward to this because you're actually going to be teaching me some stuff. You know, obviously, I've just got my paladin to 70 on Karazhan. So yeah, I'm probably actually going to take a lot away from this because I want to get a boosting set together and stuff. So, all right, so now you know who he is. The questions that we go through during the course of this massive, well, people was calling it a podcast. It was that long. It wasn't. I like to call it a bit of an interview, if you like. But we're going to look at what talents are the best talents to use for boosting and why. And we're going to actually make that build live so you can see what talents you should pick. I'll also put a link to the talent build in the description as well, just for ease for you. We're going to look at items that you need that I guarantee some of these items you wouldn't have even thought about because I didn't, and you might want to start getting them now because some of them are from Classic. We're then going to look at what dungeons you can do, what ones are easy, what ones are the best, really. There's a bit of an overlap into the gold portion, like the gold making portion of the video, which that will be uploaded either tomorrow or the next day. This is a good place to start on this video. And we're also going to look at what gear you need in general. Like, do you need to be full tier 5 to make this work, or can you do it in dungeon gear? That's a really interesting part of the video. Now, and I think it will surprise you. I think it will surprise how little gear you actually need to competently be able to do these things. And Dr. Kael was actually kind enough, you'll have to apologise for the quality because it was just screen sharing on Discord, but he was kind enough to actually show us a single pull Strat Undead as a 70 prop paladin. And trust me, he clears pretty much the entire instance in one pull. But the things that enable him to be able to do that are the tips that you'll learn in this video. So what items that you need is a big part. There's specific items that you just don't want to boost without. So we'll jump in first and let's find out what talents that you need. Well, firstly, actually, does spec matter depending on what you're boosting? You know, like, will you use a different spec for different things, or is there just like one sort of BIS spec, if you like?
I would say for the low-level dungeons, so from 10 to maybe 30, you could probably get away with any spec. It's not as efficient, and it's not as safe, but yeah, you could probably do it. I would say Ret would be the tricky one. Holy's got some nice features to boosting because Righteous Fury is how paladins generate threat. When you have 100 mobs on you, you're not going to be able to cast. You're not going to get any hard cast out, but they have Holy Shock. So Holy Shock, in theory, would be really nice to have because it would generate more threat than your boosties would ever be able to produce. When I'm boosting, and if you have ever been boosted by me, I will pull the whole dungeon in one pull, which is why Prot would trump anything else. Again, you could do smaller pulls as holy, but I like to just do one huge pull, make one big group, and then go for it. When you're boosting, players will get into classes that don't have AoE abilities, so there's engineering things you can create that would allow them to tag everything, versus like a warlock or a mage that can, you know, cast Blizzard or Hellfire or Rain of Fire, whatever. But you want to, you know, have them damaging from afar.
Yeah, see, I don't know. Well, I think that's more of a private server thing, though, isn't it? I don't think we'll probably be boosting that way in Classic. As in, yeah, you'll probably end up staying.
You're talking mob tagging? Yeah, so
yeah.
Correct. And yeah, I'm such private server brain dead, I guess. But yeah, at that point, then if it won't matter, then yeah, protection will always trump it.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I don't know how true it is, but someone actually told me that mob tagging you can do in Classic, but it's apparently bannable. You can get banned for if somebody leaves the party during a dungeon and then tags the mobs. Again, I don't know how true it is. Someone told me on the stream, but let's look at the talents. I'll put that on. What are the key talents that are important to get?
The first one would be Redoubt, which is the first tier. It's when you're pulling hundreds of mobs, even 20, 30 mobs. Redoubt is going to literally always be up. Now this is good for damage reduction. And if you're not, so the difference between if you can't leave the group versus you have to stay in the group, Redoubt will come into play for one of your buffs down at the bottom, or kind of in the middle, is Sanctuary, because every time you block, it reflects damage. So on a private server, you have to pull the mobs without doing any damage. Okay, but if that's how mob tagging would work. But if you're gonna just kill them anyways, which will be faster than how it would be done on private servers, because you could just have them follow along and you could eventually pull them to the far end of the instance and then just kill them, versus having to bring them all the way back to the front, which is usually what I do, because I don't like my boosties in the instance running around and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, I pulled something. That's really really bad, because you're like, then like, all right, I have to go save them. And if you'll get into some of the dungeons and you're very far away. Okay, then you're gonna go armor, which would be the next one. It's on the far right. Toughness, I think, is what it's called.
Yep.
Okay. You put 5 points into that. You could put 1 point into Guardian's Favor, which is the next one over. It's the Blessing of Protection.
And I assume that would come in handy if you really needed to like bop yourself to get a clutch heal off.
Nope, it's to protect your boosties if they get into trouble.
Oh, right. Okay.
And if mob tagging's allowed, then you would go 2 points into that, because you want the cooldown shorter to do more pulls quicker. But we're gonna assume we can't. Blessing of Kings, I think, would be next, and then Improved Righteous Fury, Shield Specialization has got to get capped. All those on that tier, I go all the way up. So then Anticipation should have 5 points into it as well. You're gonna skip the next tier. None of those are really good for anything. Sure, you could go Stun Resist, but the only dungeons where you're going to get stunned are the really low ones, like Stockades and RFC. And honestly, you'll be fine at that level anyways.
What about improved concentration aura if you wanted to switch to concentration aura to hardcast a heal? Or are we saying you're just never going to do that?
So the problem with, like, let's say I've got 40 mobs on me, right? And I'm like, I need to get a heal off. If you're not aware, when you start casting a spell, your block, dodge, and parry zero out. 100%, you can no longer block, dodge, or parry. You will die almost, you will lose health very fast. So it would be useless.
So going down, we're gonna take Sanctuary and Reckoning, yeah?
Here's the cool part about Reckoning. 1 point into it will still be up almost all the time. You don't even have to go that far into it.
Okay, so literally, is that what your recommendation would be? Just 1 point? Because yeah, I suppose as you say, when you got that amount of mobs hitting you, yeah, why max it out?
Because you'll want, So you put 1 point into that. Sacred Duty, which is on the left, you're gonna want to put 2 points into.
Yep, 6% stamina.
Yep. One hand specialization, you max that out. You put 1 point into Holy Shield, and we're not doing the improved Holy Shield either.
Right, okay. Any reason why?
Again, it has to do with the number of mobs hitting you. Your Holy Shield it'll go up and it'll instantly disappear in the same global. Yeah,
So
it'll
do you not
do
even
some
bother using it?
I use it, right? Like it's still you're gonna block, increases your block chance while it's up, but because you're getting hit by 1,000 mobs, it just instantly disappears.
Right, okay.
And you know, what is the tooltip? It reflects somewhere like when you're low level geared, like 150 damage, maybe 180 to only like 6 mobs. That's nothing. That's nothing in the grand scheme of things when I say that.
Yeah, and when you say a 10-second cooldown, when you're only going to get 1 second usage out of it, if you like, you know, well, 1 or 2 seconds it will be up for. So you're getting that 30% block, but literally for such a short space of time, I suppose. Yeah,
usually you'll see it's funny, is like if you're watching your buffs and you see Holy Shield, as fast as you see it is as fast as it disappears. So while boosting Ardent Defenders, this is the only time I would say to take this talent, and that's the one next to Holy Shield.
All 5 points?
You put points into it until the next tier opens up. I don't think we're going to be able to get all 5 points. We'll come back to it in a sec. Whatever remaining points,
no,
I'm trying to
get 2.
Okay. Now you're going to want to cap the stamina one. Yep. Combat expertise. And then how many talent points does that leave you with then at that point?
21.
Okay, well then that's where that'll sit, because the one hand specialization, so this is where you could go more into Ardent Defender, but the 5% damage you get from one hand specialization is stronger than Ardent Defender. And there'll be Ardent Defender comes into play more so when you're between the 50 and 65 boosting area. And I'm talking if you were just in righteous gear, like your dungeon set Paladin TBC. Ardent Defender is nice because it'll reduce. I'm curious to see how TBC Classic will that damage reduction be applied before Sanctuary, which Sanctuary being the buff, Blessing of Sanctuary. Yep. Will armor be calculated before Sanctuary? I've had a few talks with a few other players, and honestly, if things are calculated before Sanctuary, Paladins literally are going to take almost no damage from like mobs that can't hit for more than like 100. But if not, private servers, it's not, by the way. Like, I can still pull, like RFC mobs can still hurt me.
Oh, really?
You know, low. Yeah, I mean, they hit me for like 3 or 4, but like on tooltip wise, they should honestly hit me for 0.
Yeah.
But they don't.
They hit you for 3 or 4, and you've got how much health have you got?
When you're in, like, again, if I'm assuming you're in like this dungeon gear, you'll probably have 10, 11k health if the rest of your gear's looking decent.
Yeah.
Like just pre-raid.
No, that makes sense. So the last 21 points, are we going in ret now?
Yep, so we need 21 points to make it to Sank Aura. So you'll start with, on the ret tree, the reduced mana cost, which is Benediction. Then you're going to go 5 points into Deflection, 2 points into Improved Judgment. Does that, at this point, does it unlock the 3rd tier or no?
You didn't even need the Judgment points to unlock the 3rd tier. We was already on it.
Well, yeah, we're going to need to burn 3 more points, but we'll probably end up doing Improved Seal of the Crusader. But, yeah, just do 3 points into Improved Crusader. This is one of the most key talents right now, is the Pursuit of Justice. It's on the far right.
Yep.
It is so strong. You literally, I'm assuming, with how classic is, you'll be able to outrun the mobs. I'm thinking. Just by barefoot, straight path, outrun them.
Well, I mean, yeah, 15%. I mean, that's massive, really.
It's really nice.
All right, so where are we going next?
And then you'll do 2 points into Crusade, which is right below that.
I was not expecting that.
So, like, you're not going to need improved red aura at all because you're not going to use red aura.
Oh, of course you're not. You're going to have Sank, yeah.
So even if you have, let's say you're gear and you have tier 5, which increases your red aura damage.
Mm-hmm.
Even if that red aura was like increased red aura damage by 300, Consecrate will still do more damage, and you'd want to go Sank Aura. Like, red aura would be only if you have another Ret Paladin in your party that can give you Sank Aura. Like, if you're boosting a Ret Paladin and they can have Sank Aura for you. But again, that's very situational.
Yeah, and odds are you're probably not going to want them in range of you to even give you the buff, are you? Probably.
Depends on the dungeon, but ideally no. That spec right there would be what I boost with. If you feel like you're dying, then you could drop one-hand specialization in the prot tree and go more into Ardent Defender. I always go damage, because the thing with boosting is if you're taking too much damage and die, I would just tell you to do smaller pulls.
So now you know what talent build you need. Now let's have a look at what items you need, and some of these, as I say, you will not want to boost without. So, next, specific items. So I've got TBC DB open. Is there any items that you would say, you know, you must have these for boosting?
I'll start off with the key item, and that's the figurine of the Colossus, and it is a trinket out of Shattered Halls. Be picky. If you're a prop paladin going into Shattered Halls, be picky. Make sure there's a mage with improved Blizzard. Get a warlock for some AoE, maybe a hunter. But get in a nice group where you can clear it fast and you can farm it. Because if you're not lucky, you might... On one private server, I almost got exalted with Thrallmar trying to get that trinket. So it was like 20 some runs, something ridiculous.
Yeah, but I mean it is massive. So increases your shield block rating by 32, and obviously
so
use
that alone. One. So yeah, of course. But shield block rating is what you're gonna want. You're gonna want a mixture of shield block rating and shield block value when you're doing a bunch of mobs. Like stamina sure comes in and spell power does more damage, but ideally you're gonna the mobs are gonna die in time anyways. Even when you're like Sunwell geared versus, you know, blue geared, the speed difference is like maybe 20 or 30%. It's not crazy. It's not like you're just going in there and like, oh, I'm 100% faster. It's not. That would be the biggest item right there. And it's on use will pretty much heal you to full. You are pretty much, unless you get stunned, your health should go all the way up.
It was pretty much like a second lay on hands, wasn't it? I mean, it's ridiculously quick how quick your health goes up.
Because in like reality, you should be blocking almost every attack. So if you have 1,000 mobs hitting you, you know, take that times 120, and your health goes just shooting up.
What about the two-piece? Right, so let's say you're like, I mean, you're in tier 6 and obviously exceptionally good gear, but would you still consider using the two-piece Righteous?
It's really nice. Like, even when I go on to tier 4 and tier 5, I make a farm or a boosting or farming set, and I use that and I gem spell power into it. I absolutely use it. And when you get into tier 6, then the spell power and damage mitigation outweighs the reduced mana cost, but the Righteous set is really nice. Even for, like, it's 4-piece, like, while you're tanking dungeons, the reduced cooldown on Taunt is amazing. It's an amazing set. Some of it has MP5 on it, too, which is just a bonus kicker.
What about the Sporagar shield?
Nope. I'm going to go to the next biggest item.
Okay.
I'll get to the Sporagar shield. What did I say the most amount of damage is? What's your highest damaging ability?
Consecrate.
Yeah, you got to go to Set the Calls and get the Consecrate Librum. Consecrate is your damage. Through and through will always be your top damage. So this comes in number 2 for the most valuable things. That is a very annoying trinket to Librum to farm. Again, it's nice because if you are a prop paladin, that fight is hectic. Healers can get overwhelmed. If you don't have good damage, the tanks will get... There's just hundreds of debuffs that go out, making people take shadow, fire, frost, nature damage, whatever. It just, the whole group gets debuffed. That gives you dumb damage.
So would you use that, like, if you was going to like boost me through my attunements, like tier 5 attunements in heroics, would you be using that still, or?
I use that in Sunwell Plateau.
Oh,
when
wow,
I'm
okay.
doing most bosses. Again, there's a single target Libram at that point, but that Libram across the board, you will use. You're a paladin. Your job is to AoE tank things. So you'll use that in SSC when you're tanking Hydros ads. You'll use it tanking Tidewalker ads. You'll use it Hydro Trash. you want damage, right? Because the more damage you put out, the more threat you do. When it comes to boosting in general, you want to kill things quicker.
Right, so looking for more Cephek Halls. We'll end this there. I'm going to get that Libram.
You only got to farm the first boss. So you've got your friends that only want to bring a shaman. Again, that boss can be difficult.
I haven't got friends. Any other items?
So yeah, now we can get into like these super cool items like the Sporgar shield.
So afflicts your attacker with deadly poison spores each time you block.
It is technically deadly poison, like rogues. Stacks up to 5 times. Gets to 5 stacks. If you pop wings, which is Avenging Wrath, as paladins, well, we call it wings, but you guys call it Avenging Wrath. That should increase that damage as well, because that is your damage output. And then you're going to do a lot of reflective damage. And it stacks to 5 almost instantly on all the mobs. So on this shield, or any shield you have for farming, if mob tagging is not allowed, you're going to want to put a fell steel spike on this shield. Again, if mob tagging is allowed, you absolutely do not want to use that shield.
No, of course not.
It would tag everything. Again, I'll stay away from that, but if you're just going to kill mobs, that shield's really strong.
Well, I mean, obviously, I do. I meme on rogues quite a lot. It's you know, it's all banter. I love rogues really, but you know, on the basis now a prop paladin can bring deadly poison. That's, you know, one more reason not to bother inviting a rogue to the raid, isn't it? Really.
Yep. So while leveling, I try. Yeah, I just don't bring rogues. Don't bring a rogue to raid. Don't be a rogue. Don't bring a rogue. Get this shield while leveling. Like when people are running, like you get to Outlands and you see people running Underbog, you're gonna want to run it. If you see your friends picking up the tendrils and you know they're just either gonna vendor them or mess around with them, get the Boglore tendrils from them, because you're gonna need some of them to do the quest, or the Sanguine Hibiscus or whatever it's called. If they're just taking it, because it'll be like they'll just loot it. It's not like something you roll on. It's just a white item. I'm a sweaty nerd, right? So like I think of everything when it comes to this. If Sunwell Plateau is out and you have access to Magister's Terrace, there's a trinket there called Timble's Focusing Crystal. Why? Now it gives you static spell power, which is great. Makes you do more damage. But if there's like no internal global cooldown on that trinket, if you're using the Sporgar shield plus that trinket, it technically could be shooting shadow bolts every second. Just pew, 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 pew. It's pretty fun.
So on private servers, has it not got a internal cooldown?
It on my current private server, it does. On my last one, it didn't, and it would be like 20% of my damage. Again, just keep your eyes open. This is like we don't know what we're gonna get. I think it should have, but even then, it procs off cooldown, and it's a fun prot pally trinket. Every
what's
warlock
the internal cooldown on the server you're playing on at the moment? What's the internal cooldown? Do you know?
Like 20 seconds ish. It's somewhere in there, but it scales with spell power, so it's pretty hard hitting. You'll leave a trail of bodies, and the mobs that actually got hit by the Shadow Bolt, they die, and then the rest are still running. Now, the other shield that that'll literally make you take 0 damage, Argent Defender.
Yeah, Argent Defender, 1% chance of blocking combat with increasing block rating.
Correct. So you have so many mobs hitting you. 250 block rating at level 70 is like 60% block chance, and it refreshes. So let's say that shield procs. What this means is you're blocking every single attack at this point. So your Fell Spike on your shield is hitting everything. Your Blessing of Sanctuary is hitting everything. It amplifies your reflect damage by a ton. But because you're blocking every attack, your damage you take is minimal. If that's procced while you hit your Figurine of the Colossus trinket, you're going to see a lay on hands effect. Your health's going to go right to full instantly.
I mean, that's incredible. And to say that that's, from a level 55 quest, or, a quest you can get at 55.
I will, it sucks because some people may have already did that quest and you wouldn't grab that shield in Classic. It's like, what? That thing looks like a piece of shit. But it gets changed into block rating for TBC, and it becomes actually really good. You're gonna want a good spell power main hand, and I could just start listing them off. The easiest one to get if you're playing a fresh prop paladin on Karazhan like you are, or just anybody, is the Caverns of Time weapon. Is super easy to get. I think it only takes one or two runs of Black Morass to get the weapon. It's called the Continuum Blade.
Yeah, that's the one.
It's free. It's your starter spell power weapon. It has very high stamina. 30 stamina on a one-hander. I will use that weapon until, like, I'm not kidding. If I get the Gladiator's Mace, I use that. But I will use that weapon for a very long time. Either Gladiator's Gavel or Fang of Leviathan out of SSC. It's like, so there's weapons from Rep, like the Gavel from Lower City, or the Stormcaller from Thrallmar. I would rather use the 30 stam one-hander versus the 20 spell power, 30 spell power increase. Just 30 stamina is really good. Spell hits okay, and it's definitely not a bad thing. The rest are just tank items, right? Like, it doesn't have to be. Your Righteous Gear will have some spell power. Your starting spell power on a prop paladin might be like 200. The weapon gives you 120, and you might only have 200. Don't stress about spell power. Trust me, it gets faster as time goes on. As Consecrate does more damage, things die quicker, but just be patient because it gets more fun as you get more gear.
As you're going to demonstrate very soon.
Yeah.
This is the last time you're going to see me here, because now we're going to look at what dungeons you do and why, and what gear you need. And this is all going to be one quite long segment, so I hope you enjoy it. So yeah, what dungeons do you boost? That was the next one. So what ones do you boost, and what ones don't you boost? Is there any that you avoid, like the Plague?
There's none. There's zero I avoid, but there's a path that is. There's some that are easier than others. So generically speaking, you go RFC, Shadowfang Keep, Scarlet Monastery, and you're at Scarlet Monastery for a while. And then I take Scarlet Monastery all the way to Lower Blackrock Spire.
Really?
Because you can go in Scarlet Monastery pretty much till 45, and then at that point you can do Lower Blackrock Spire or Stratholme. If I'm doing money making route while boosting, then I'm going Stratholme.
Right.
I think they can get into the dungeon at 45.
But I mean, Lower Blackrock Spire, that just seems crazy for someone who's not in the know, going from Scarlet Monastery. I was expecting you to say Zul'Farrak next. I was thinking Zul'Farrak, then maybe Strat.
So the only issue, Mage Weave Cloth will always be worth oodles of gold. It's usually the most valuable cloth, and gold making better come into play when you're boosting. The problem I have with Zul'Farrak is you're pulling mobs called Witch Doctors. A lot of them are casters. That doesn't matter because you're going to resist 80% of the spells anyways. But the Witch Doctors drop a totem, and it heals everything. And you have to walk them backwards out of distance of their healing stream totem. Eventually, they're gonna go and then you can just stack them up. But it's a slower kill.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Like,
yeah, it is quite an annoying place.
Like, of course, right? Like, if Zul'Farrak had like a bunch more of the zombie tombs, sure, those would be great. They're melee mobs. They're easy to kill. They're undead. You do more damage to them. But that's only part of the dungeon. The reason I like Lower Blackrock Spire is the warlocks open up portals that infinitely can spawn demons. And then if you've ever let the warlock demon go all the way to the end, it summons a boss. It's a Felguard boss that drops blues, and those can be DE'd into large brilliant shards, which is part of the the gold making.
Again, I honestly, I've played for 15 years and I've never even heard of that being a thing. Honestly.
So you ran LBRS though, right? Like the warlock mobs. They start opening a portal, right? And then usually people just kick it or kill them, and then the portal despawns.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the standard way. I've never done it any other way.
Yeah. Well, one time you should have just let it go, because right, something has to come out of there, right? Literally, you can look the mob up. He comes out of the end of the portal, and he drops blues. He drops dark runes. So it's just like.
But can you do that? Is it like from any of the warlock mobs in there? Like, as in, you can spawn multiple of them.
I can absolutely. You can have like 8 bosses on you at the same time, and they're just Felguards. Again, it's like if you let the portal go its entire distance, it's
I'm literally looking now, trying to find an item that drops off of one of them.
Phase Blade.
Classic Wellhead.
Yeah, so it's called Demon Skin Gloves, Demon Skin, one word, gloves, or Phase Blade.
I mean, that honestly, that's like blown my mind. You can probably tell. I'm like, what? Like, how did I not know that?
There's why I go to LBRS, because let's just say you get 10 Phase Blades to drop, which usually it's about 50-50. They drop. Will they have a 100% drop rate like all 3 of my private servers I played on? I don't know. But technically they should have a decent chance of dropping one of those 2 items. Do you know why I have a high value on large brilliant shards in TBC? Your best in slot weapon oil needs them. So that's why you're going to want ZG rep. Even if it's if they happen to release a fresh server, you'll want to still run ZG and get the rep for the brilliant wizard oil.
I'm sure that's going to come into the bits where we're going to be talking about how to make gold as a paladin, I'm guessing.
When I had stopped playing Classic, I think Mara runs were like 10 gold a run or something like that for a mage to go pull Mara. That's going to continue on in TBC. You're going to have people paying you per run. You're going to be looting everything. Maybe you make them pay more if they loot, but I don't know.
Yeah. So paladins are going to be the money makers in TBC. Paladins.
Yeah, because they can pull everything. They don't have an AoE damage cap. Mages would just die. Like, yeah, they could still do their thing, and in TBC they get a water elemental that'll give them a free Frost Nova, but they won't be able to do the damage it requires.
They just have to do really small pulls, wouldn't they?
Correct. Your highest AoE mage spec is either it's arcane with fire, because they would rank 6 and rank 7 flame strike, because the charred earth effect it stacks, and that does more damage than blizzard.
No, that makes sense. All right, so last question. What level of gear do you need to competently boost? So, do you need to be in like full tier 5, or can you do it like right off the bat in full dungeon gear, and how far is that going to take you? That's the important bit. So, you can boost everything, in your, you're raiding somewhere plateau, so of course you can boost everything. But is there limitations to what you can do based on your gear?
It's just the size of the pull. That's all it is. The size of the pull. There's no limitations. If you were in full righteous gear, which is your start, that's not even heroic gear. You're just plain Jane blues. All it affects is your size of the pull.
You could essentially then, so let's say you're a little bit maybe dense and you play a rogue as a main, for example, but you wanted to level an ult to be able to make gold with. So you could actually just level yourself a paladin, and then literally just go and not even bother raiding. Just get all your sort of pre-raid bits, and that's it. Bang, you can start boosting people and making decent gold.
That's it, man. It's that easy. And then, you know, if
Amazing.
you're playing a rogue main and you're playing a paladin, you'll eventually at some point while making all that gold, you'll be like, this is the real class I should be playing, and then you'll reroll.
Yeah, and probably delete your rogue.
Exactly.
It would make sense anyway, wouldn't it? Let's be fair.
There's gold making paths in Stratholme. There's boosting. I can show you guys whatever you need for Stratholme. Oh, I can honestly show you for any dungeon, whatever. The crazy part is I have, I bet 60 just raw videos of me doing every dungeon for boosting and gold making. Like, I have them done. I just gotta slap them all together and start making some videos here. Am I good to start?
Yeah, go for it. Let's see what you can do.
You need to get the key to the city. Of course, so you'd run in the front door originally and then clear and get the key from this dude. But I won't even miss a single boss either. Like, I pull it off.
And you'll have to excuse him, obviously. He accidentally created a Mao. He didn't realise until it was too late that he didn't create the Bis race, which is the female blood elf, but we'll let him off.
So one thing while you're pulling is you always want to like strafe. You never want to turn your back to the mobs, no matter how geared you are. And if I don't turn my camera, it's because I can do this in my sleep. This is a rare spot. I put Harsinger, he drops the flute, the piccolo, or whatever it is. And he's kind of like an archer, so he shoots from afar. These guys, patchwork guys, you guys know, or abominations, they stun. And this guy keeps getting stacks as the fight goes on, so he'll get pretty big. In between using Blessing of Freedom, you want to keep up Sanctuary to reduce your damage. And you can see I've got...
You've got a couple of mobs on you.
Yep. These arcane... There's some mobs here that they're not hostile, so I use like something like Arcane Torrent to grab them. And right now I have my trinket up, so I'm just buying time is all I'm kind of doing right now.
I'd love to be in that party and just see the amount of XP I got when they all die.
Yeah, I mean, so at this point, this is half. That boss, Bart, he gets stacks like Gruul does. So he gets just bigger and bigger. I think it caps at like 25 or something, but...
Fuck you, gamer. And hi, mate. And yes, I did. For you. I wanted to look pretty for you tonight while I'm getting drunk.
So the whole reason I use... So here's like one of the tricky parts. Is I still have 56 seconds on my figurine trinket. So I'm just buying time. Because I'm going to need that when I go to kill them.
What's the cooldown on the trinket? What is it? 2 minutes?
2 minutes.
Okay.
Yep, it's really nice. So like half the time you're waiting for freedom to come up because you really can't move without freedom.
I thought you was going to say ask him for a friend alpha. Can you solo Baron as well?
Yeah.
Your health is scaring me. I'm just saying. Oh, and then the trinket goes up. Look at his health. Look at the health bar go up with that trinket. It's absolutely ludicrous. that is bonkers.
So you use Seal of Wisdom and Judgment of Wisdom on a higher health mob. You want to pick a mob that has the most health because you don't want to be rejudging. So here it's like if I know the fight's winding down, I have nothing up, I'll use like Seal of Light because I know I have the mana to finish the. And yeah, the whole time you're low health, don't panic.
I mean, I was panicking for you. I was thinking, for God's sake, don't die. Don't die when you're trying to show him how to do it. But you had it all under control the whole time.
Yeah. Will you be able to do that big of a pull when you're in Righteous gear? Absolutely not. But you can do that first half easily. Like, honestly, easily.
So it would just be a case of you done it in one, I'm going to do it in two.
Yeah. So then, like, this is the part of the fight where it winds down. You're kind of out of mana. You're no chance of dying, but.
And what would you guess? Gold wise, you're just going to have made there.
A pull like that, you're probably making there's variables. Raw gold just sitting in this pile's, I don't know, 120, 130. You can look at so if you watch your loot window, rune cloth's always going to be worth. There's things that you want to look for. Beast cards are really good because Dark Moon card Blue Dragon's still valuable at 70.
Yeah.
And the mod, granted this the silver would be split, but if you're soloing this, like, you're getting a lot of silver per mob kills too.
It's so weird. Before you pulled these mobs, I liked you. Afterwards, I've gone off you a little bit. I'm not going to lie. It could be jealousy. I don't know.
I mean, like, you'll be here just, like, sitting looting for, like, come on, I want to go. So the worst part to this, if lock instance is how you get back to the front or the side, great. If not, this is why I like Stratholme. Like, let's say, all right, you're done looting. I'll just say I'm done. And each blue, you can DE or vendor. You get items, right? Like, you can get epics. Skullflame shield's cool. This is why I like Stratholme, is because right here is the gate to go back to the first part of the room, and then you are already ready to reset if you're not in a crazy hurry. Or if your boosties have the keys, they can come this way while you're pulling around. They can literally be waiting for you.
Yeah, I mean, that it's just
the only
nuts
thing they'd
how quick you've done that.
The only thing they'd have to kill, that is what I call one pull Stratholme. You've pulled every melee mob. Yeah, there's some stragglers, like one or two, but that was 3 bosses, and I don't even know. That was a lot of mobs doing 5,500 DPS. And then this is the breakdown of it, right? 86% of my damage was Consecrate.
So bonkers. And that's it. Everything you need to know about prop paladin boosting, and even getting to see how overpowered it is and why in TBC the paladin is the absolute god of boosting. Now, if you've stayed all the way to the end, you know the shift in meta from mage boosting to paladin boosting was primarily because of the AoE cap. Prop paladins don't suffer from the AoE cap with floor, with ground AoE, should I say, which is Consecrate. And some of these things where you can just reflect so much damage, you have massive amounts of block, massive amounts of self-healing. It just makes the Paladin absolute god mode for boosting in TBC. Again, if you stay to the end, thanks so much. Make sure you check me out over on Twitch. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more TBC content coming thick and fast. I'll see you on the next one.